East Stroudsburg University football with head coach Denny Douds. The Warriors participating in today's PSAC East Media Day at Kutztown. And Coach, just want to start briefly with the preseason poll. Warriors pick 5th, really kind of in the spot where you figured you would be, because the number 1 and 2 teams are the same as they were in last year's standings. We finished tied for 3rd. Westchester's 3rd, Kutztown's 4th, we're 5th. Just your general thoughts on the preseason poll.
Well, one thing about preseason polls, it's great for the fans. No one ever pays attention to them in November. We understand where we are. We're not going to accept where we are. That's why we're going to play the season and find out what happens with where we were projected to be to where we will be.
Last year, pick 6th, ended up, as we said, tied for 3rd. Knew you had a young team going into last year. Weren't quite sure how young it was going to be, but you end up really with only 18 seniors and juniors out of that whole group of 85 guys. This year, that means you have a lot of guys back with some experience and still maybe only sophomores or juniors, but you bring back 13 starters overall.
Well, we're in a unique situation. How many times do you ever hear a football coach say, well, we have some experience, but we're also young? It's almost an oxymoron to be able to say, hey, you either got experience or you have inexperience in youth, experience in veterans. Well, maybe we just flipped the card a little bit right now. And I know with the way our kids played last season, what they have done in the off season, in the winter programs and spring ball, and the way they've worked through the summer, it should be an exciting time for the Warriors this year.
13 starters back, 7 on offense, 6 on defense, so a good balance there. Both your specialists as well, and the kicker Taylor Groff and the punter Jordan Bear. But on offense, obviously, it always starts with the quarterback, and last year you found you had a very good freshman quarterback in Matt Soltis, who's now a sophomore.
Well, Matt, everybody knows that Matt was the freshman of the year in the PSAC, and his production was not only worthy of some records in the PSAC, but certainly opened some eyes on the NCAA Division II level nationally and so forth. So he's back. He's back with experience, and he's back with most of his receivers as well. So it should be interesting to see the firepower that comes out of our offense this year.
6 of the top 7 pass catchers from last year back. You have a 2-time all-conference receiver and Dusty Reed, the senior. Robert Blyler on the outside, a redshirt senior. Those should be the top 2 options for Matt this year.
Well, we have those 2 back, and certainly Dusty, the all-conference guy for 2 years. He's a hard-nosed guy. He catches the ball over the middle. Former high school running back, so he can run well once he catches the ball. And Blyer, the kid runs in the 4.4s. He benches 225 about 23 times. He vertical jumps about 40 inches. The only thing we're pretty sure he doesn't have an S on his chest, but he thinks he does. So that's not bad for starting the season. And then we have a couple speedsters on the outside with Mercer and Wilson. Mm-hmm. And, Mercer's one of the fastest kids in the conference. He's a 10-5 guy and dealing with that. So we think we can put some pressure on that secondary that we're going to play on Saturday afternoons or Saturday evenings.
You go through the wide receivers. You've got also a tight end back in Stephen Jones, who's going to be a redshirt junior, and a fullback, Thomas Tippett, a redshirt senior, your most experienced guy in the backfield. Both very good pass-catching options as well.
Well, they are. Certainly Tippett is a hard worker. He's working all the time and looking forward to the senior year. Steve Jones really started to come into his own in the second half of the season last year and started to demonstrate some of the potential we thought he had. He's a kid 6'4", he's about 255, runs a 4.7 40, benches about 225 about 24 times. He's got the strength and the size and some experience right now to come back in. He's probably one of the top tight ends in all of Division II, if not our conference, in dealing with that. We're excited to see his talent starting to come to the forefront, to be able to see what our opponents have to deal with that big guy.
In the backfield, to partner with Soltez and with Tippett, obviously you've lost your top 2 running backs from last year, both 4-year players, in Kendrick Williams and Eric Deary. You've got a stable of guys, I'm sure, ready to go. Last year you averaged about 170 rushing yards and put 3 guys over 500 yards, but 2 of those spots kind of open for for competition this fall.
We lost 2 very good backs with certainly Williams and and Deary. Now we have another stable. Some fine athletes in that group. Preseason is going to dictate who comes out of that group to be productive. But they have the talent to be able to do that. So I think we will be able to replace those guys, although that's always tough because they had the experience as well as the production. As they come back out of that, it should be interesting in our running game, and it might be by committee this year. But that's okay, as long as we get them.
Fourth in Division II last year in total offense at almost 498 yards per game. Obviously, you don't do a whole lot of that if you don't have guys up front to be able to protect. You bring back 3 starters, really the center and the left side of the line, and Greg Blue, your senior, 28 career starts. Pete Walmart at guard, and then Cody Laubach, who I thought had a very good true freshman season at tackle.
We do. With the big guys up front, I mean, it all starts there. And Coach Santello, he works those guys, and he's had a great spring practice with them. We think that those guys, one, will start to come into their own. With Laubach starting as a freshman, he's got that experience now. They're all good-sized guys. I mean, he's a small guy at 6'3", about 285, and that's small, and the other guys are all 6'5" to 6'7", and around 300 pounds plus in dealing with that. So we'll have a good offensive line with some experience in that, and they will continue to get experience. And I'm sure Coach Santello, they'll whip them into great playing shape to be able to be productive on our game days.
We've talked a couple minutes, and we haven't mentioned your All-American from last year, and he's going to headline the defense, obviously. Brian Thompson is going to be a redshirt junior. He was the PSAC East Defensive Player of the Year, Football Gazette All-American. His first year as a starter last year, folks will probably remember, he only started 1 game as a redshirt freshman, so guy kind of still scratching the surface of what he can do.
Yeah, he is. I mean, he has great upside. He's starting to come into his own. I mean, hey, how many times do you see a defensive tackle named Player of the Year? When you think about it, what is it? It's usually a defensive back that has a bunch of interceptions, a linebacker that has a lot of tackles, or a defensive end who has accumulated a massive amount of sacks. Very seldom do you ever see a defensive tackle. So that tells you the impact that he has. He's quick. He at 285, about 6'3", and he runs well. He can put a lot of pressure on that offense, and particularly that offensive line. And we had another young man starting to come into his own, John Noble, at the other tackle. And he's about an inch or 2 shorter than Thompson. But otherwise, they all came out of the same cookie cutter. They're 285, or, bench pressing 225, 29, 31 times, 5 flat 40 guys. I mean, that's good size, good strength, and great speed at that particular size in dealing with that area right there. We might be as strong there as we've been in a number of years.
Defensive end, Brandon Gattelli has your most career starts on the defense, a redshirt junior. At the one end spot, the other end, Tara Caddad, Sam Trunzo, have both had a lot of experience their first 2 years. And I know you're excited about a couple other guys. On the line, you usually play 8 to 10 guys, and it looks like you have that kind of depth.
Well, I think today, I mean, the way the game's played and the intensity in which it's played, you're no longer a 60-minute guy in dealing with that. You play it by committee. It's a tag team. You go out and, hey, if you got to pass rush 3 or 4 times in a row, usually that 5th time your tongue's down around your kneecap someplace in dealing with it. But we have the depth. Certainly with Gattelli coming back, and he started 2 years for us. He's been productive. He's got great quickness, good pass rusher, and his experience should be well demonstrated on the field this year.
When you look at the back 7, you got 4 starters back at linebacker, Darius Jackson on the outside, Cody Simcox on the inside. In the secondary, Teron Dobbs at corner, Anthony Singler at safety, but I know you're going to ask some of those guys to do a little, different things this year than what they did last season.
Yeah, we are. I mean, with Simcox, we trimmed him down. He was 260 last year. He looked like one of those tackles out there. But now he's around 228 at 6'3", and he moves well, and he certainly has an impact. With Darius Jackson, I believe he's the only senior that we have on defense. So not only do we have guys coming back with experience,
Yeah.
but we're young also, which we talked about a little bit before in dealing with that. That's pretty exciting right there. Denny Douds, he came over, in fact, last year in preseason, he was a wide receiver.
Yeah.
And we needed some help, and we moved him over. And he just continued to grow, had an outstanding spring in dealing with that. He ought to be one of those rocks in the secondary. I thought we recruited extremely well. We got a few guys out of some junior colleges, as well as a couple rookies coming in with great speed. We'll certainly be much better in the secondary. With Singler, we've changed his position a little bit, so we've got some experience. And one thing about Anthony, he's like having a coach on the field. I mean, he understands everybody's assignment and makes sure everybody's on the right place at the right time too. So he's an invaluable guy, not only with his talent, but also his football savvy.
When you look at the kicking game, you've always had very good kickers and punters, going back to your first year as head coach in 1974, and even before that. Taylor Groff has been as good or better than any of them. Just want to go through a couple numbers. From last year, field goals 15 out of 23, made 3 over 50 yards, 48 out of 48 on extra points, led Division II in scoring, Division II kickers in scoring, 9.3 points per game. Going into this season, your career record holder in career field goal percentage, he's 42 out of 58. He's made 16 over 40 yards. I mean, that's a guy who has a resume now through 3 years. It's going to have a chance to have a great senior year, and then perhaps, going forward, looking into what he can do after East Stroudsburg.
Yes, I mean, when you look at Taylor, I mean, and we don't protect him. And you say, what do you mean by that? Well, you say, okay, look, the ball's it's 47 yards out, the wind's blowing in his face, and so forth. We think we got a chance to put points on the board. Taylor's going out to be able to have that opportunity, to be able to do that. And there's statistics that will tell us what if you're inside the 40-yard line, you have it's like a batting average, what percentage you have a chance to make in dealing with that, according to Division II, according to NFL too, in dealing with that. Taylor Groff has fallen in well within the averages and exceeded the averages of all of those organizations just mentioned right there to be able to do that. I mean, his freshman year, he didn't miss a field goal inside the 40-yard line. I mean, you go to practice field, you put the ball on a 40-yard line, he'll kick 10 out of 10. They think he's kicking extra points in dealing with that. He's got I mean, we've been blessed here at East Stroudsburg with some great kickers. And he's as good as anybody we've had, and he has a chance to exceed that with this coming season. It's going to be interesting to watch him and to be able to see him continue to use his experience, his maturity, and to be able to be quite productive for the Warriors.
Your punter going into his third year, a junior, Jordan Bear, probably one of the taller punters in the league at 6'4". I know a couple of years ago might have saved a safety down at Cheney, just being able to go up and catch it, but when he gets the ball on his foot, he's been pretty good for you too.
Well, yeah, so we expect Jordan to be somewhere around 40 yards this year, and we do that and cover it well. We'll be in great shape. He's got some experience. He knows what he's doing back there, and we're looking forward to having an exceptional kicking game, and Jordan's going to be a big part of that as well.
When you look at your schedule, you open up on September 5th, a Thursday night game here at Eiler Martin Stadium against American International. You know, they had a very good season last year, 7-3. The only 3 teams they lost to were NCAA playoff teams. Then you're not home again until October 5th, and you're home 3 games in November. So it's a little bit of a different schedule, a flip from what we had last year. But just your thoughts overall of your 11 games this season.
AIC is a good football team. They're coming in here, an NCAA playoff team. They're a Northeast 10 team. I think they were 7-3 last year. 2 of those losses were to New Haven, and New Haven was a fine football team as well in dealing with that. They're coming in here. They got a lot of kids back there, a lot like us. So it's going to be a showdown early in the season right there. And, they're coming down to play us on a Thursday night, the 5th of September at 6 o'clock, and for the home opener. Then we go away for 3 games. That's just a quirk of the schedule that will not happen in the PSAC ever again, because we just passed a rule that said that you cannot go away or more than 2 games in a row, which will be good, because I mean, if we would have had the opening game away, I mean, we would have come back home to play until October, and people would have been around here asking, well, you got to play this year in dealing with that. But that's water over the dam. We got what schedule that is going to happen. But the schedule will be highly competitive, and we have an opportunity to keep working at it, to be able to go out and play each game with an opportunity to be victorious.
Don't want to let you go without just addressing a milestone that's come up this year. It's been 39 years in the making now, but 40th year as head coach at East Stroudsburg University, and in the history of college football, there's only now 5 coaches who have coached at least 40 years as a head coach, spent their entire career at one school, and you're one of them. What does that mean to you, and what's that mean to East Stroudsburg football?
A couple of things. One, it means that my wife's seen a lot of games. 2, I've listened to a lot of Star Spangled Banners, but I've been associated with a lot of great kids too, and great coaches, and that may be the thrill of it all in dealing with that. Did we ever set out to do this? The answer is no. The only thing we were trying to do is win that game that Saturday, and then once that was over, hey, who are we playing next week? And it's just a accumulation of taking those mini steps, and this is where we happen to be.
When you hit this stretch over the last several years, starting in 2000 to 2006, you had 7 straight winning seasons. You had NCAA playoff teams in 04, 05, 2005, winning the Northeast Region Championship, making the NCAA semifinals. How do you compare this part of your career with the early years when you won conference championships in 1975, 76, 78? Any comparison between these types of teams and maybe how the student athletes have changed as well?
Well, I said last year, I thought the team we had last year was very similar to the team that we had in 1974, my first year. A lot of young kids, a lot of kids trying to figure out, put 2 and 2 together in the game. Playing some good competition. I think we played Slippery Rock our first year, and they were a 3-time all-conference team coming in. I think, too, that in the PSAC, a credit to the coaches that we play and the programs that have been developed at those schools. I think it's a much tougher league at this particular time. You go out, you have to compete every Saturday to be able to be victorious. There's no gimmies, and you got to play whether it's home or away. And everybody has a chance. And if you notice in the last 5 to 7 years, how many teams have been undefeated in our league? I mean, somebody gets their nose bloodied someplace along the line. I don't care how good or how poor they are in dealing with that. So that means you have a chance. And there's, the conference championship isn't decided in the second week of October. You got to play well into November to figure out who that's going to be. And that's great for the conference. And we've gotten some new teams in there. And the new teams have expanded the opportunity for the PSAC. For people who don't know, before the Gannons and the Mercyhursts and the CW Post, which got bounced out because of Seton Hill's in there now, and they brought Johnstown Pitt in to the conference, although they don't have football. But all of those teams that they brought in have 36 scholarships. Before those teams come in, we had 25. If you go back and look, the Northeast has never won a national championship. One of the reasons for that, as I believe, has been that they've never had the full complement of scholarships. Now we do, and I think it's just a matter of time. I would say in the next 5 to 7 years, somebody from the East is going to win a national championship. Let's hope that championship is in the Poconos.
A great opportunity for this year's team as they come in, reporting on August 14th, opening practice on August 15th, and then the season opener just a couple weeks away, and in your 40th year. So wish you the best of luck and look forward to what the Warriors have in store for 2013.
We appreciate that, Greg. And the other thing is that we're excited about the opportunity we have, and I don't care whether it was our first year or our 40th year. Hey, we got an opportunity to work with a great bunch of guys, and we're looking forward to competing in the PSAC. And